no music today, guys.
Hello. Wait, all right. You ready for it? Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, no music today, but that just gives us more time to dive right into our important topics of the day for Public Safety Thursday.
Wait, I can't take that aim. I can't. Here, wait, I gotta have music.
That's right. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, so look, even your music won't work.
Sunshine. All right, that's John Denver, Sunshine from the 70s, here on the River 95.3.
Welcome to the Valley today. Public Safety Thursday, Lieutenant. Oh, my.
Oh.
See, you're not wearing the white shirt.
All right, now I'm
so
picking out
it's not
another
a
song.
Glaring reminder that it is Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. But I do want to let my favorite sheriff, Lenny Milholland, know. Thank you for the hug. I appreciate that. So now he has radio confirmation.
Yes.
That the hug that he told you to pass on to me was received.
And calling me lieutenant, you've called me worse.
Well, there is
today.
That. Today.
So, yeah. So. Hey, I joke because I care.
I get it. I get it. I do the same thing.
I'm ready for vacation.
Because we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics today, which is dogs. I'm going to let it all just get you. We're going to put you in vacation mode.
That's what I'm talking about.
Even though you just got back from vacation.
I did? Oh,
yes,
yeah, I did.
You did.
Okay. Wait, I have 86 days. We took 1 week at the beginning before summer, and we get 1 week at the end for our anniversary instead of taking the traditional 2 weeks.
Isn't there a Talladega in there somewhere?
No, that's later this year. That's a guy's trip. So that
doesn't count.
Well, no, because the wife doesn't get to go, so she doesn't count that as our vacation. That's my vacation.
And as I said to you, I haven't had a vacation since these dogs made their entrance into my life.
Now, you have two.
Yeah.
Were they rescues?
They were, yes. They were.
Okay.
Someone left them as hours-old puppies in a cardboard box on the doorstep of the Winchester SPCA. They were a litter of 6, and our 2 were the only 2 that survived.
Well, and I can tell you, and people go through their own hardships, and I never try to presume what it's like to live someone else's life. But when I say, it takes a heartless person to do something like that, it doesn't matter your circumstance. You have that organization available to you. Just for lack of a better term, man up.
Right.
And bring them in and do it the proper way. And are there worse people? Yeah, there are worse people because they'll drown them and do other things or just let them starve. So don't get me wrong, you're a step up.
There are levels of...
But come on. And this is one of those topics, Janet, where it's like, man, I'm a big tough guy, but animals and kids, they love me. And I love them, and it's just like I can't stand to see either mistreated, and so we're going to talk about a different type of canine today. But you have 2 that you've rescued, and so you haven't had a vacation since. I can tell you, our current 2 are both rescues, and for us to go on vacation
is a lot of work.
I can't even say what I want to say. I love them both, and they love me, and I enjoy the bond. But the hurdles and the hoops that we go through to try to make sure that they are properly taken care of, professionally taken care of, not mistreated. The cost that we incur, that's a minor thing on the life scale.
Right.
But there's almost no one that the wife trusts enough to keep an eye on these girls
and to come into my home, because that's the other ideal situation, is that their life is disrupted as little as possible. And not only are there a small number of people I would trust to take care of them, but there's an even smaller number of people that I would want to be living in my home, going through my drawers. Stop right there and continue on.
I can tell you that our girls have gotten used to the kennel, the boarding facility that we have found. They're good people. We've used them several times now. And as a matter of fact, we get a quick goodbye, and then they're off to the back. And when we get back, they show us, hey, we missed you. Where you been? But they're nowhere near it. Yeah, thanks for leaving us here. Mm-hmm. So it's made it a little better. But even with that, if they don't post, the kennel doesn't post a couple pictures of our dogs on their social media so that my wife can then say, oh, there they are, and they're still happy. And, and then let's get into the cats, because we're not taking the cats to a kennel. So we still have somebody that either stays a couple days at the house or comes by. It's to love your pets. It
is a sacrifice.
And sometimes it's absolutely true that it is irritating. But I don't know, when Annabelle walks up and all she wants is a little bit of love. She's not looking for a treat. She's not trying to mooch my food because I'm not eating. It's just she just wants to be there with you. I can't understand how people then can do some of the things they do when it comes to animals. And I couldn't be an animal control officer.
See, I couldn't either.
Number one, I hate snakes, and apparently, if someone calls saying, "Hey, there's a snake in my boot," and it's like, well, don't put your boot on, throw it away, burn it, whatever. But yeah, the worst I've had to do as far as animal control in this job was I have captured a couple of bats in people's houses before, and then I found out just recently that whether or not someone thinks they were bitten by a bat, if there's a bat in their home,
that's all the
health
evidence
department requires we have to do a bite report, because sometimes a bat can bite you and you don't even know it. I'm like, you don't turn into a vampire? I mean, what's up with that?
And if I'm not mistaken, bats are protected. I think because Tim gets a lot of those calls that there are people that have bats in their attic and they have that sort of thing, and it's very bats in their belfry, all of the things, including the one that he lives with. But that's a whole another story again for a whole other day. But I think they're protected. They're not allowed to actually dispose of them.
Well, I can tell you, the bat was in both cases pretty docile, just hanging out on the wall, and so I just took a small garbage can and boom against the wall. Took a piece of cardboard, slide it between the thing, and it's like I turned to the person. I said, "I'm Batman," and they looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, "Okay, my humor is wasted here, but okay." But yeah, so being animal control though, and dealing with some of the calls of abuse, neglect, and stuff like that. They need advocates. Don't get me wrong. That's not the reason I couldn't do the job. I couldn't do the job because somebody's going to get hurt.
See, that's about. I couldn't do the job and carry a gun. That would just not be good for anybody.
Yeah, it's just you got to. You got to know your weaknesses, and that would be a weakness of mine. Just like some of the investigators and such that take care of some of these child crimes, they need advocates. They need the best possible people fighting for them, and I agree with that. And yep, if we had to do it, if I had to do it, I would do it. But to do it on a day in, day out basis, it would just weigh on me. So when it
takes a special type of person. You have to know that this is what you're getting into, and you have to know that you're going to be able to handle and manage that. Just like these canine officers, you can't have a canine officer that isn't a fan of dogs, and suddenly say, "Hey, here's your new partner."
And that's going to be the topic. I mean, we started off the show saying we were going to talk about dogs, and I lead into the ACO thing, which in and of itself, for rural county like Frederick, Clark, Warren County, animal control officers and deputies who, if you don't have an ACO, it falls on them to handle livestock, snakes, bats, dogs, cats, groundhogs, skunks. I mean, I'm like, is there no limit to this? Can we say certain animal control? CACO. But no, we still handle as an agency, hundreds, if not, a couple thousand calls, depending on how intricate you want to be with what constitutes an actual complaint. A barking dog call, that dog's running at large. You've got a dog chasing livestock. There are certain laws in the Commonwealth of Virginia. If your dog gets onto someone else's property and is chasing or maiming or harming livestock of a farmer, they can dispatch that animal right then, right there, and there's nothing that's going to be done about it. It's stuff like that, intricacies that most people don't realize. They just know, hey, I got an issue with X animal, I need it handled. Sometimes we're able to step in and automatically take care of things, and other times, even we need to check. Like you said, is this a protected animal? What do you do with an injured bird? Someone found an injured bird. Well, Okay. Blue Ridge Wildlife, I guess. Here we go. We're bringing an injured bird to you. So all kinds of things that go on with that. That'll be a topic for another show. And if we do that show, I'm going to bring in an expert.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a couple. I'll bring in the actual animal control officers and the people who know what's going on with that, because I wouldn't want to give any wrong information. But for today's show, I wanted to talk about the Frederick County Sheriff's Office Canine Unit, because I had the chance this morning to visit with some of them. They're having a training day today. And so when I got there...
Where?
I can't tell you that.
Oh, can you tell me off air?
Maybe.
Because maybe I want to go watch.
Well, I don't know that you want to do
I don't
that.
want to put the big suit on and have me be the one that they...
You can put the track down and see if they can find you, because that's one of the things they were practicing today.
Oh, cool.
And let me point out, I've got all kinds of stuff that we can talk about. Now, I'm not the expert, but as I told you, when this whole promotion thing happened, my wheelhouse was traffic. My guys were all traffic, all 5 of them. Well, now I have 75 people, and that includes the ACOs.
And your wheelhouse is much larger.
The traffic division, the canine division. And so I'm trying to learn more and get to know the different teams and what they do. So I'm not the expert. But after meeting with them this morning, I had a couple of awards for them. I'm proud to say that of the current team that we have of canine officers, and we have 6 canine officers. Hold on, that's not all. There are 6 that strictly have patrol canines. I have a 7th who is on the traffic division, whose canine is close to retirement, but we still utilize him here and there where we can. And then we have the 7th canine now. Wait, what? 8th, which is like a service, not a service for the deputy, but a service, a therapy dog, a facility dog is what I believe, facility canine, who is now Ghost, is taken out. Ghost is a lab and goes out to certain functions and such, and connects with people and can sense certain things within people. And it's just, you can walk up, you can pet, and you can talk to him and everything. We don't recommend you do that with our other canines. Right. There's a reason for that. And not all law enforcement canines are mean. I wanted to dispel that myth too. They're not mean, but they're trained to be a certain way. And depending on what their specialty is, we need them to keep in that mindset. Mm-hmm. Like if we have a tracking canine. Now, I will tell you, there's a difference between a tracking canine and a trailing canine. We have a bloodhound. That's Blue. Bloodhounds are trailing canines. Mm-hmm. They have a little bit better olfactory sense. They can distinguish between different scents. They have scent. I forget the term that the sheriff gave me, but scent.
He'll text you during the break.
Yeah, he will. But they can actually distinguish between 2 different scents and follow the one that they're supposed to be following. German Shepherds do this to a degree too. I'm being told. So if my sergeant of the canine division is out there shaking his head, no, he needs to talk to the big guy, because this is where I'm getting my info. But the other canines are tracking, and so I don't pretend to know the distinct differences between the 2. I just know that they can both sniff and find who we're looking for.
Or what
under right
you're
conditions.
Looking for, because there are dogs that specifically look for bomb-making material and that sort of stuff. But we got to take a break. Mm-hmm. Can we get more in the weeds on this when we come back? Of course.
Yes, because if we do, one of my canines will be able to find us and bring us back.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation for Public Safety Thursday. Captain Warren Gosnell is in the studio. We are live today, in case you did not know, for the Public Safety Thursday with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. I know, we'll be back in a minute.
Don't let a cringy DJ ruin your wedding day. Celebrate confidently instead with Summit Events Co., the premier entertainment company in the Shenandoah Valley. Summit Events is serving 200 couples a year with 5-star reviewed DJs, photo booths, 360 booths, live music, and more. You can celebrate confidently with Ben Savory, Summit Events founder and chief party officer, who was just named the Top of Virginia Entrepreneur of the Year. Don't risk your wedding. Book a professional at summiteventsco.com. That's summiteventsco.com and on Instagram at Summit Events Co.
Welcome back to the Valley today.
All right, this proves one thing, clearly. The first instance was operator error.
It was. I wasn't holding my mouth right, my husband says. But our music is back. We are back at the Valley today, Public Safety Thursday with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. We are live, as obviously you can tell, because itch and get-alongs and all of the things when you're live in the studio.
We haven't bleeped anything out yet.
We haven't. That's actually
that's
kind
pretty
of impressive.
Amazing.
Yeah,
so.
that's pretty impressive. I have that happen a lot on the rest of the shows that I record in advance.
Sheriff sent me a text, floppy-eared and pointed ear. So I guess telling
the difference between a track and a trail.
And if someone's saying, well, a German Shepherd is pointy-eared, you and I talked, I think they trim their ears when they're young. So here's what I'm going to say. You're either a Spock dog or a Captain Kirk dog. And we'll go from there. It's not a technical term, but it's going to work. So here's what we need to do. I had to write this down, Janet, because I wanted to keep on track talking about the Canine guys. Mm-hmm. They're having their training today. They're probably listening in. I probably won't hear the end of this, but that's okay. But the whole reason I hooked up with them this morning was almost the whole team now have been deemed as master deputies.
Wow.
And the sheriff's office here in Frederick County has recently instituted this category of deputy to further recognize our personnel who have put in the years of service. Not only that, but the level of experience, the training they take, their firearms qualifications, ongoing education. There's a whole list of criteria. And so right now, of the 6 members of the Canine unit that are strictly Canine officers. Now, that doesn't include our traffic unit that's still a Canine officer as well, and our handler for Ghost, our facility dog. But of the other 6, 5 are master deputies. The only reason the 6th isn't is because he's a sergeant, and as a sergeant, he can't qualify. Right. So that's what got me to thinking this morning. I mean, to be a master deputy within our organization, you have had to go through being a Deputy 1, which is your beginning. And you do that for 2 years. If you meet certain criteria after 2 years, you can move up to Deputy 2. From that time, 2 more years, you can go to Deputy 3. At that point, you have to spend 6 years at Deputy 3 before you can be considered, along with all the other things that we're looking for you to be considered. You have to pull that 6 years. So we're talking 10 years, basically,
right,
at a minimum, to be considered, to be qualified, and then see if you can obtain that master deputy ranking. So 5 of the 6, the 6th is a sergeant. The traffic unit, he's a master deputy as well. And so I also believe Ghost's handler is a master deputy. So everyone with a Canine within our organization has been with the organization for a while. And I'm not here to say that a Canine officer becomes an expert on all canines, because truly I would believe a handler, the Canine they should know best is the current partner. Mm-hmm. But our Sergeant Piles, he actually trains Canines and handlers now. I want to say it's called Master Handler or Master Handler Trainer. But we have a second deputy now who has also obtained that certification. So we're also getting to a point now where we can do in-house training.
Oh, wow.
And so when we talk about this unit, it covers more than just the barking dog that, people walk by a cruiser and all of a sudden the cruiser starts rocking and shaking and it sounds like something angry in there wants to get out. And that's why we say, and we have guard panels and the vehicles are clearly marked because under the wrong circumstance, The canine isn't taught to distinguish between good guy and bad guy.
Right.
They
have other distinguishing things that they are
he goes
trained to
based
look
on
for.
what the handler is enticing him and instructing him or her in the way that they do of what they want done. But when a canine is utilized, let's say, in a use of force, you have a felon or some other bad person that is wanting to fight, is hurting people, isn't going to listen or comply, the canine is considered a use of force. Mm-hmm. And so we don't tend to get close to the person that we want the canine to engage with because, again, they may not distinguish between the color of the uniform or anything like that. They just know that their handler has said,
that guy.
Yeah, and I think they still use like German commands, mm-hmm. and so I don't pretend to know them. But so all I'm going to do is I'm going to stay away from the bad guy and be like, you should have listened. But yeah, we have Blue, who's our bloodhound. Mm-hmm. We have Enzo, he's a Dutch Shepherd. Milo is a German Shepherd. Happy is a German Shepherd. Loki is a Dutch Shepherd. Thor is also a Dutch Shepherd. And then Izzy is a Belgian Malinois.
Bless the heart of the deputy that has that dog because they are so incredibly smart and so incredibly energetic. I have seen so many videos on Facebook and on YouTube about these dogs. They are incredible.
Well, wasn't it Channing Tatum?
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, didn't he make a movie
where
he was trying to return a
yes,
dog, and I think that was the breed?
I mean, all of them are obviously very good dogs and very smart and that sort of thing, but those Belgian
I believe
Malinois,
that's Sergeant
man,
Piles'
kudos
canine.
to him.
So, and then Ghost is a Labrador Retriever. So, that's our current roster right there. And I've already told you, each handler is at least a master deputy, if not a supervisor now. And so we take and we try to put the right people with the right canine, and training is ongoing. These guys were training today. They get 2 days a pay period to go out here and train. It's not a thing that you can put the dog through the initial training, and whether it's a dope dog, whether it's a track and attack, whatever the case may be, it's a diminishing skill, just like with anything else.
Yes, I learned that third training session with our dogs is that you got to keep doing it, otherwise they're not going to remember it either. Much like the music not working when we got started, even humans are guilty of that.
Well, I can tell you this: when we talk about the trainings. I watched today, and I watched one of the canine handlers lay down a track, and until he went out of sight, and then he continued on, and I spoke to, I want to say it was Enzo. That's who Deputy Stump is Enzo's handler, and we were standing there talking. I said, "Do you have to go?" He goes, "No, we need to wait like 10 or 15 minutes." And so, the dog isn't anywhere to be seen, so he couldn't watch the person. And then we wait 10 or 15 minutes, and I watch him get him out. He does his little business after getting out of the car, and then he takes him over to where the guy started. And, I mean, he just, for all on grass, on pavement, back on grass, and then out of sight. And then eventually I saw them off in the corner and heard the bark, and there he was. In some trees and some brush. Impressive. And so it was pretty impressive to watch. But these are the kind of things that they have to continue to do so that when it's time, when it's real world, when we're looking for that Alzheimer's patient, mm-hmm. When we're looking for that person who is involved in a shooting or something else terrible that we need to get them taken care of, that person that just fled drunk from a traffic crash. When it's real world, we need to be able to know that we can depend on them and they're going to be able to come through. So it's continual training. And as I said, one of the reasons that Heppy is only part-time was Heppy's been around long enough that he was also trained to detect marijuana. And now with marijuana being legal, you get into some
it's
tricky
a gray area.
Well, it's not gray. It's black and white. They're allowed to have marijuana, and so if we think they have something other than marijuana that they're not allowed to have, we need to be able to say This canine isn't trained on marijuana. He's trained on XYZ, so we knew it was XYZ in there.
That makes sense.
Not marijuana.
Right.
We're not going to give a defense attorney that legal argument. So Heppy is still used for tracking purposes and such, but not so much as far as drug references. But the other dogs, they're trained on those XYZ, but not the Mary Jane, not the MJ. But they're also trained to track, or in Blue's case, to trail. And so Blue has had several fines, and some of our other canines have had recent fines, may not be of people, but again, of illegal narcotics and such. And so this is one of those areas where I think people need to know about and need to be a little bit better educated and need to understand, why, we bring the canines out to DARE graduations, or we take them to the schools for demonstrations.
I've met a few of them at National Night Out.
It does not mean that the canines are mean or not approachable, but it can't be done unless the handler says, hey, you're okay right now. Yeah. Things are good.
Which, quite frankly, should be the case that everyone should have for any dog.
Well,
you should always look to the owner and say...
You should never extend your hand to a dog you don't know that doesn't know you, even if the tail is wagging. All right?
That doesn't... we have a dog that can wag the tail and
be like, come a little closer, come a little closer, just a little bit more.
Yeah, that's Miller.
Yeah, so... Yeah, don't extend your hand to any of them. And again, that's why we have the guards up now. The windows it'll let air through, obviously, but it won't allow you to reach in or the animal to reach out. And so there's a reason. And there are canines who are a little more mild-mannered, even when they're in the vehicle. And there are some who know it's time to work. When they get in the car... And it's amazing, and I've talked to some of the handlers, and I've watched it. I've watched one dog with the tongue hanging out, and then as soon as they got in the vehicle, work mode. They know. Yep, Dad and I are going to work. Y'all best back up. And don't be the one that he says, whatever it is to get them.
And they live with these animals, so they're not taking them back to the sheriff's office and leaving them in a kennel overnight. These dogs are part of their family as well. Yeah. They may have a different home life than, say, my dogs that get,
Well, and that's why I think you'll see a lot of the canines when they have to retire from service, handlers are the ones that will then adopt them. Because why would you want to separate someone from the only home they've known? Now, how it adjusts later when the dog's like, hey, when am I going out? Hey, when are you loading up, Pop? What's going on? Yeah. I don't know about that part, but I could truly understand that if I had a partner 6, 7, 8 years and it was time to medically retire them from active duty, I wouldn't want to give them up. So yes, part of being a canine handler is you have to have the ability and agree to have a kennel at your home, and it's inspected by our sergeant. Food, you provide the food, but you're reimbursed for it and such. But you're expected to make sure they are fed properly, that they are taken care of. If they need to see the vet, and so that's not just the days you work. Because right now our patrol units usually work a 5 on 4 off or a 6 on 4 off variation, and so on those 4 days off, the canine's still there, and the canine still needs to be taken care of, fed, watered, walked, all of that.
And they do get vacations, which is what we started our conversation with. So, it's a full-time job as you can get.
It is a commitment. And so I can tell you that while I think it's one of those things that it's one side or the other when it comes to the public, to the community. They look at it and say, yep, canine handlers, they're badass and they know what they're doing, and that dog scares the crap out of me, and there are other people that are like, what do they really do? I'm telling you folks, when it comes to this particular part of our patrol division, these handlers and their partners are out there working on a daily and nightly basis, and if you were ever to need their services for any of those situations I mentioned, you'll be damn glad that they were there.
I have no doubt. And kudos. Hats off to all of them, or tails up.
Sergeant Piles. I've got Deputy Stump. I've got Deputy Walther. I've got Deputy Swear, Deputy Avery, Deputy Clark, Deputy Renner, and Deputy Hicks. I think I have mentioned everybody.
Kudos to you. And
All
you
master
did it
deputies.
with 20 seconds left to spare.
Thanks for having me. Go hug your dogs. If you don't have a dog, think of adopting or rescuing one.
Or babysitting mine. I'm going to start renting them out now.
Just don't go through her drawers.
Just don't go through my drawers. I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley today, a few minutes after noon.